You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You're listening to Mission Log the Orville, an episode-by-episode discussion of the adventures of the crew of the USS Orville. Welcome into another episode of Mission Log the Orville. This week, Mortality Paradox, the one where the Orville visits the barren rock that is Naran 1, only to find, really, just so many things. Just all the things.
So many things.
We'll discuss the meanings, morals, and messages to see if this episode aligns with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy. My name is Mike Richards.
And I'm Jessica Lynn Verdi. Mission Log the Orville is a conversation that seriously does depend on your participation. And we're so glad that we have so many new friends and phones and people listening to us. It's really wonderful. So please share your thoughts, ideas, and tell us what we missed at ML_the Orville on Twitter. I'm sticking with it. Mission Log Pod on Facebook, or you can email us at missionlog-the-Orville@roddenberry.com. If you're watching this on the Roddenberry YouTube channel, please hit like and subscribe, And remember, we may just use your comments on an upcoming episode, so, be thoughtful, be nice. From Black Trick on Roddenberry YouTube channel. They said, I had binged all previous Orville mission logs and was worried that you guys might have missed this new episode, but good to know that you release episodes a week later. And that was about the first episode, right? This second episode.
Because the first one this season we did just a couple of days after because we had the screener for it. So we were able to drop that just 2 days, the day after it premiered. But now we're kind of on our normal Wednesday rotation. So.
Which makes sense because we make space for Orville Nation and all the other people that do things on other days and other Roddenberry shows as well. So Wednesday has been our day. So yes, we are here. No worries, Black Chick. And we also got Maria with Tea and Telly. And
huge friend of the show.
Yes. Man, I missed this! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I'm sorry! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Great show! Exclamation point. Don't forget to tell me when you are on! Exclamation point. Ha ha! Colon, smiley face.
And we are, yes, actually just smiley face. Just
colon
not...
colon parentheses. Colon parentheses. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and I answered her on YouTube, and we're still going to do our YouTube premiere live chat on Wednesdays. In the U.S., I cannot convert to Australian time. I am sorry, Maria, but that is going to be 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and you can interpolate for all the flyover times.
Interpretation.
Interpolation. You ready for the recap?
That. Yes, let's go.
All right, prologue. Tal is returning from shore leave. Apparently, all Zelayan parents suck, or at least their dads do, so happy Father's Day, everybody. Upon arrival, she reports to Kelly to let her know that she picked up a Kaelon quantum signature near the Avior system. Tala returns to duty, shares her mom's Zelayan chocolate trusses with the crew, and is interrupted by narrowband electromagnetic emissions from the surface of Naran 1, which is known by all, apparently, to be a barren rock. But the only way a planet can emit this much electromagnetic radiation is if it's inhabited by a substantial population. Ed orders Gordon to alter course, where their sensors detect a 25th century civilization and a population of 8.5 billion. With no response to their hails, Ed, Kelly, Bordas, Tala, and Gordon shuttle down to the planet, where suddenly all the cities are gone, and all they see is hundreds of square kilometers of forest. Reading humanoid life forms nearby, the crew decides to investigate, with their weapons drawn this time. After a short walk, the crew stumbles upon what appears to be a 21st century high school, home of the Oakwood Tigers.
Let's go, Tigers, let's go.
Act 1, reaching out to the Orville with John Lamar in command. Ed asks if their readings can be confirmed. However, all the Orville is reading is the landing parter. Apparently, learning nothing from the haunted house episode, the crew enters the haunted house. I mean, high school, only to have the doors locked behind them. Unable to reach the Orville, unable to escape, the gang proceeds further into the high school, where they're swarmed by high school students changing periods. Fred and Daphne, Ed and Kelly head one way, while Velma, Shaggy, and Scoob head the other. On the bridge, Lamar is searching for the landing party and orders a rescue team to shuttle down to the surface to, rescue the landing party. As Shaggy and Scooby check out a history class, Velma, also known as Gordon, wanders the halls by himself. Stick together, people. Come on, please. Gordon is jumped by 3 bullies who demand money for Randall. Who the hell is Randall? Gordon has no idea what they're talking about, but he's getting worked over real good. So good that he's willing to agree to anything, even to paying Randall at $3.15. Leaving Gordon to tend to his very real injuries, Ed concludes that even if this is a hallucination, the crew can still get hurt. After being snubbed in the cafeteria by the popular girl with a 5 head, the gang sits down at the geek table, where it's explained that Randall pulls his crap on everybody. The only way to get out of it is either to pay him or to have your TikTok followers flame as Graham. Eventually, school's out and the door is open, allowing the gang to head to the bleachers to confront Randall. On the athletic field, it turns out Randall is kind of like the Delta Vega monster from Star Trek 2009. I mean, not exactly, but you get the idea. I mean, this one has a loincloth and he's walks a little bit more upright, but it's kind of the same thing. Suddenly, Gordon's eyes glaze over as he's about to be Randall's next meal. Thanks to Tala's quick thinking and great aim, the landing party is able to escape, running back into the high school, only to find themselves in the aft galley of a 21st century passenger jet. After being told to take their seats by a well-intentioned flight attendant and somewhat overzealous flight attendant, the group takes their seats and plans their next move. Act 2. The rescue party arrives on the surface to see the desert wasteland they expected from the start. But there's no sign of the landing party. Back on the passenger jet, it's a stormy night. Gordon's not concerned with the storm or the lightning, but there is something else that does have him concerned. Deciding to see what's going on, we learn there's no pilots flying the airplane. None at all. Gordon takes the controls of the jet and gets his bearings just in time for both engines to run out of fuel. Gordon finds a place to land as Ed's eyes glaze over, just like Gordon's did when he was in the clutches of Randall. The jet skids to a stop just on the edge of a cliff. Jessica, why does there always have to be a cliff?
Always.
And the crew evacuates through the forward door, only to find themselves in a Mocklin morgue? What the hell? Realizing they never should have left the ship. But exploration does have risks. I say risk it. The landing party searches for an exit. Touching a control panel that might be an exit or literally might be anything, Tala opens the Mocklin coffins, where one dead Bortus-looking Mocklin strangles the not-so-dead Bortus-looking Mocklin until his eyes glaze over, like Ed and Gordon's previously, leaving himself to feel like he was outside his own body. Next stop, a creepy stairwell over a bottomless pit which leads down to Lake Ruel on Celea, making it clear that this is an illusion, because if they were on Celea, they'd be dead, because, gravity. Am I right? Act 3. Kelly, Tala, and Gordon take a raft across Lake Ruel to investigate a flashing light on the other side when they spot the Loch Ruel monster under the raft. The sea monster grabs Kelly with a long tentacle and pulls her under as Tala swims furiously to save her. As Tala struggles to free Kelly, her eyes glaze over, meaning Kelly's eyes glaze over, just like Gordon's, Ed, and Bortus's did. Safely back on the shore, Tala confesses that she felt the same thing the rest of the crew felt. Funny thing, though, we never saw Tala's eyes glaze over.
It was cut for time.
No big deal. I'm sure Tom just cut that out, just for time, for budget reasons. As the landing party regroups, a large doorway appears on the shore, but Ed says, "That's it. That's enough. We're not playing this game anymore. Either kill us or let us go, because we're done with this BS." Heading any direction but through the door, Bortus finds a power signature leading to a holographic generator in a cave. Ed pulls out his plasma pistol and destroys it, leaving the crew standing on what appears to be the real Neuron 1 right next to their shuttle. The end. But wait, no, there's more. Act 4. Claire's examination of the landing party finds evidence of a highly invasive neurogenic scan, similar to a hallucinogen. It's specifically ayahuasca. Between this and the holographic projector, it's possible to project vast realities. Further, it appears the device is of Kalan design. After all, Ed muses, if you can control someone's perceptions of reality, peaceful conquest is easy. Admiral Halsey orders a Union fleet to rendezvous with the Orville, but is it a Union fleet? Or is it a Kalan attack squadron?
Why would you think that?
Well, I mean, because Isaac. After a brief discussion, Ed decides to hightail it out of there, as the Union convoy does in fact turn into a Kalan attack force. The Orville is outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, and outplanned. And things don't look good as we flash to the bridge of the Orville, with John Lamar in command, being held by Tala Kiali? What? Looks like the real Tala is only now returning to the Orville, back on the bridge of the Orville, you know, the one with Ed in command, being attacked by the Kalan spheres. It's time to abandon ship, as a Kalan ship stops just short of ramming the bridge. The 5 members of the landing party brace for impact, as they realize no impact is coming, while the rest of the crew continues to brace themselves. Non-playable characters, maybe? Just then, Tala stands up and transitions into a luminescent being who's kind of a cross between a Metron and a Tron person. We'll just call her a Metron person.
There we go.
Her name is Denal, and she promises not to hurt anybody. While they are responsible for everything that occurred, it's okay. Nobody's going to get hurt, anymore. Turns out they're all still on Neuron 1. The Metron person is from the multiphasic planet that used to worship Kelly. See Mission Log the Orville, Episode 12, Mad Idolatry. They've advanced the equivalent of 50,000 years since they last met. They've also taken the reins of evolution and are able to guide it with greater efficiency, resulting in a sort of immortality and the ability to create custom-made micro-universes where each member of the landing party experienced a moment where they thought they were going to die. And as luck would have it, the Metron person was there to experience it all with them. You see, mortality has its rewards, but after a while, the drive to advance begins to atrophy. Once you've seen it all and done it all, and time has no worth, all that's left is idle play. They've grown complacent and wanted to experience death through the eyes of mortal beings. While that's all well and good, it explains that hundreds of years ago humans used animals for experimentation, and it didn't take 50,000 years to realize that it was wrong. The Metron person shrugs this off as they explain that no one was in any real danger. So Gordon asks, what's immortality like? Denal explains, when you leave your gods and your nations behind and head to the stars, you outgrow yourself and those abstract notions no longer define you. Captain, explorer, husband, man, they're irrelevant when you become one with the cosmos, and when you do, sculpting the universe becomes as simple as blinking an eye. The Metron person dematerializes as the landing party, for the first time, is actually able to contact the Orville, where Ed explains that they ran into an old friend. In the mess hall, the group debriefs over drinks, where Ed contemplates the fact that neither they nor the Metron people can fathom their own mortality. He doesn't mean picturing your funeral. He means imagining your own death. Non-existence is beyond our capacity to imagine. While death may be considered a normal rite of passage and a natural part of life, that doesn't quite work for everybody. You see, Ed would like to live forever. Why? Because he wants to see what happens. The end.
Me too, Mike. Me too.
Three.
Good job, Mike.
Well, thank you very much.
That was perfect.
This was written by Sherry Shiva Pravat Dumrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a brilliant woman, Yale grad, NYU Law School, if I remember right. If you want to get this right, I may have it wrong. So go back, listen to Season 1 of Mission Log the Orville, the episode where we covered Firestorm, because we did a deep dive into her background, because she's a quite brilliant and accomplished person. Since we last talked to her, she has also shown up as a co-executive producer on Resident Alien on Sci-Fi Channel. And
She worked on Family Guy.
And Family Guy as well. And you can also learn more about her and that show on Sci-Fi 5, their coverage from January 27th, 2021.
Nice.
So good to have her back. And Firestorm was kind of like a brain trippy, mind bleepery kind of episode also, where you were unsure whether things were real or a simulation.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Directed by John Cassar. Music by Joel McNeely, and man, I just cannot say enough about the music on the show. I was actually thinking about saying this was my favorite music from every episode, but I wouldn't want to slight any other episode because it's so good.
It's always pitch perfect for the episode that we're watching.
It really is.
But I can see why you would want to say that as well.
Yeah, and if you're watching the show in the 25th century, the premiere date was June 16th, 2021.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, first thing I want to say is, Mike, we have a queue.
We have a queue. We have a omnipotent or immortal being, a godlike being, and presumably a whole race of them that sort of are, like they said, idle play, just kind of while in their play and want to use us as their playthings, I guess. What
I love about that, though, is it is of their own making. Kind of like, Q just shows up and is like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna bleep with you," and like for no good reason, and then becomes intertwined in their lives. And now we actually have. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot to talk about with the morality of Denal screwing with them or not, and I have opinions, obviously, but we've seen this. This was a really tried and true Star Trek formula, and it was so enjoyable. There was nothing more shocking than Randall sprinting onto the football field.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see some like Matt Dillon type character from The Bodyguard.
I was expecting like a twist where it's like a geeky kid who's like, "Hey, give me your money." Like I just totally expected that.
Because my idea of current high school is very much modeled by 21 Jump Street with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum.
Got it.
Where, when they graduated high school several years earlier, Channing Tatum was kind of like the big man on campus, and, he was, more like the jock type.
Right.
Whereas by the time they went back to go undercover in this high school, it was kind of like a very, kinder and gentler high school situation where, nobody was mean to each other, and you had to like respect whether or not you triggered other people, and you had to respect whether or not, how people identified with themselves. And there was no teasing and there was no bullying. So, to see this level of bullying in a high school was a little bit of a shock to me. I thought, wow, the idyllic world of high school as portrayed in 21 Jump Street did not come to fruition.
Right. Now, that's being in a high school was what made me think initially that this was them just going to like cycle through trauma. Now, it was unique in that, like, Kelly was the one that experienced fear on Zalea, whereas you might have assumed it would have been before we knew that Tala wasn't who she was.
Sure.
But so they all, we didn't know, like, we don't know that Ed has a fear of flight.
So,
I mean?
and I don't know that the person who was tapped for the experience. And they also said, from your experiences and databases. So the thing that I initially thought was that Ed, since he was the guy that had to wear a shirt when he went in a pool till he was 20, maybe he got stuffed in a locker occasionally, when he was in high school. So maybe this was his fear. It just ended up playing out that Gordon was the one that got beat up because of it. Because I thought Gordon was maybe more likely to be fearful of running out of fuel or being in a plane with no pilots or being in a plane where you're not in control. That to me is a much more kind of, realistic fear that a pilot might have. And now that one ended up getting Ed killed. So I think there was sort of like maybe a mix and match of scenario versus whose eyes ended up glazing over.
Sure. And I guess that's my point is, there definitely was the fear factor. So I was glad that I was like on the right path with that, whether it was personal or not. But did you have any thoughts as to what was causing this throughout the episode, or did you have like a hit? Did you have a hit?
I had no idea. Like, I was not saying like, oh, I bet this is the return of the race that apparently was unnamed on the Mad Idolatry. Yeah, so they're just the Metron people.
They are the Metron people. You can have that.
Because every time, when Shatner said it, he said the Metrons. So they called themselves the Metrons. So,
Metron people.
That's our portmanteau. That's our portmanteau of the day.
We do those well, I think.
I think we do. I think we do that well. So no, it was a complete surprise to me. I was sort of like okay, now what? Now what?
Yeah, it was an exciting episode for that reason. We got some of the humor back, which is, I think, more for people that are accustomed to that, to be like, don't worry, we're still the same show.
Well, and I think that if Star Trek the original series can do Trouble with Tribbles, and if it can do a piece of the action, and it can also do Balance of Terror, and it can also do City on the Edge of Forever, then there is no reason why fans of that sort of genre, which I think whatever you call Star Trek and the Orville, they're in the same sort of genre, loosely defined, can't have more comedic episodes and can't have more serious episodes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I respect about this team that makes this show is they're not trying to accommodate a TV show for everybody. They're trying to do a TV show that they like, that they would enjoy watching, that they feel good about. And, the internet can be such a friggin' crazy place, but I am so off-put by people who are like, this is childish. Like, obviously, there's way more positive than there are negative thoughts.
Yeah.
But when people feel like their opinion is... Well, first of all, your opinion is valid, but it can also be wrong, where it's like they're just spewing nonsense. We've had a couple of people thoughtfully critique what they expected this season to be, which I think is great. Like, give us a reason what works for you, as opposed to, I still like it.
Yeah, this is not, 180 degrees out of phase from what we saw before.
No.
This is continuing the evolution that we saw from, Gordon Malloy drinking a beer in episode 1 while he's flying the shuttle to work, to what we saw in Lasting Impressions, Identity, Blood O' Patriots, and Tomorrow. It's
all there.
And the end of season 2. Like it has been a ramp up to this, in my opinion.
This is a clear-cut episode of science fiction as we grew up with, that Star Trek gave us.
And very, very much in the vein of the 2 series that inspired it, which is not only Star Trek, but The Twilight Zone as well, according to David Goodman and Andre Bormanis, as they explained.
That's such a good point, because this was a perfect blend of that. And I think what I really, really respected about this episode was, again, it's not just because you're just bringing in writers that, let's get, it doesn't mean you can't bring in fresh writers, obviously. But, when they were on the plane, I was like, but we've already gotten Gordon's explanation of not being afraid of turbulence. It should be fine. And then, so, when you see he's actually scared because he says, so it seems like the pilots are trying to hit the pockets of thunder and lightning. That was what was concerning him. So that's what I loved, was that we knew he wasn't afraid of being on a 21st century plane, but there was something actually wrong. And funnily enough, when Seth walks out with his cut on his head, I remembered that Kelly had that tool in Mad Idolatry that healed that little girl. She should have had that tool on her.
Well, the only reason I think she had it on her was because Ed was embarrassed to admit that he got hurt playing Latchcomb.
Right.
So he asked her to bring him the dermal generator so he wouldn't have to go to sickbay.
Thank you for reminding me of that, but at the same time, it still did remind me of that head injury.
Now, I am all in favor of sending people on landing parties a dermal generator with them. and
Sure.
to bring with them, just as part of like whatever goes in their fanny pack, and as well for a little crossover with Mission Log, who just covered Faces this week. Send down some transponders also. That way, it's a little easier to locate the landing party if you have to. Just
little
make
mini
that a normal
black
thing.
boxes on all of them, and a little
Yeah.
bit like little Bluetooth signals.
Yep.
How about this? Don't send the captain. What are we doing?
Oh, come on. That's craziness. If I was a captain of an exploratory ship, I would be the first guy to go down.
I got it.
Episode.
And it's-
I would.
And he was making awesome calls. I not for nothing, it was awesome to see John Jamar, as I lovingly call him, at the helm too. It was
It's nice because it kind of follows into that chief engineer being somewhere in the command structure, like Scotty was.
Yeah.
Let's face it, they had not their first, not their command officer, and not their executive officer, but also their third in command, also who is known as a second officer, Bordas, all away. So yeah, they were down to fourth in command. Which, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was the first time we saw John Lamar in command.
I think it's the first time we've seen a black person on this show in command, or a person of color.
I'll agree with that. I mean, first of all, I think he's
Besides Bordas. So,
has
Bordas
Claire ever been in command? She has not.
I don't think I've seen her as that.
Yeah, no, she was just the Obi-Wan for Alara Katan.
Yes, she was the Obi-Wan for Alara Katan. It just reminded me of something that Norman Lau shared today, where when Uhura took the helm and was able to deftly steer the ship when Kirk relieved like the crazy O'Leary or something from when he wasn't able to perform, and she just deftly was able to like fly that ship or whatever, work the helm, and the camera didn't go, look, we're doing this, but it was a big deal in '67,
100%.
and they just sat on. So anyway, it may or may not be a thing, and it isn't a thing, but it just reminded me of that because I just saw that post at the same time too.
Yeah, and she also took command in the animated series.
It's just great. Like, it shouldn't be a thing, but you
should not be a thing.
We can show the world. Diversity is important. So
well, all the research in the world shows that when you see somebody who looks like you in those kind of positions, even on a fictional TV show, that it does something to enable you to aspire to do those things yourself.
100%.
And I think that makes me so much more proud of my fandom every time that we get that extra bit of diversity.
And it shouldn't have to be a thing that we even need to compliment, but at the same time, it's good that we're there, that we're like consciously working on that as a society. Yes. And then what else? So first of all, one of my favorite moments was when Bordas comes up to the mean girl and it tells her that he's prepared to take the seats by force. It is one of the funniest things ever.
Yeah, that was definitely a one of that would have fit in very well with one of Worf's more comedic one-liners.
Yes, 100%.
I'm prepared to take them by force.
I am prepared
and it's
to take
like
it by force.
Ed being the thermostat, not the thermometer. So
That's
as a leader, when things are starting to heat up, you have a choice. You can either be a thermometer and react to the rising temperature, or you can be a thermostat and try to modulate or cool things down. And Ed chose to be the thermostat and say, like, hey, let's take this down a notch. Let's just find another place to sit. Gordon, very quick-witted after just getting his, I wouldn't even call it a swirly because it was just essentially torture.
Yes, he was waterlogged.
He was being tortured. Was quick to regain his wit and whisper, a logical course of action into Bordas' ear, which is to tell her that she has a 5 head.
Don't talk about my 5 head. It's actually, apparently 5 heads are good if you're an actor, though. It allows you to be more expressive when you meet some actors in person. When I started becoming self-conscious about my head, which is stupid, I was like, I know. When I was a child, someone told me that, and I was like, oh, well, good. I'll be a better actor then.
Well, and then what I've noticed also is just the distinguished looks of successful actors. Like Julia Roberts has a very distinguished look. Nicolas Cage has a very distinguished look. They have very defined features, whereas other people have maybe more classic beauty.
I see. Yeah, you can recognize them, and then some blondes just look like some other blondes. And some dudes look like some other dudes.
Some other dude, man.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the guest star, Denal.
She was phenomenal. So I did not recognize her, and I was blown away by this when I saw it on Tom Costantino's Twitter feed. Elizabeth Gillies. She has been around the industry for a while. She started the first time I saw her, my daughter was a fan of the show Victorious on Nickelodeon, and she was a cast member on that show. But she started on Broadway in the musical 13.
Wow.
Then in about 2010, she played Jade West, which was just such she was like the badass, like kind of like snarky, snippy, kind of mean girl on the show.
Right.
To see her just so enlightened and so, and just so
mature.
Like her facial features were just, looked, for lack of a better term, just I don't want to say perfectly evolved, because evolution is stupid. Creates a barely passable being, Gordon Malloy. But her, just completely, she looked great. I also do remember her from Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, which was, I think, just a one series, maybe series and a half show with Dennis Leary after Rescue Me finished. It was Dennis Leary's next project, where he played an aging rocker. And she starred in all of those shows. So yeah, just surprised, because with the, sort of androgynous look and the, all the accoutrement that she had on, I did not recognize her from anything that she had done previously, which is amazing that an actor can step into a role and do that. It says a lot about their ability.
Huge kudos to the makeup team too.
Yeah, so it was great to see her, and she's also been on Family Guy, Robot Chicken, American Dad, and so she's been around for a while.
Not to mention, Seth has already worked with her on those TV shows, you're right, but also recorded from home, I think, during the pandemic with her. So they did songs online together and released an album. I'm blown away at this point. It's clear that he respects her, especially because he's a musician himself.
And again, just the amount of talent on this show is crazy. And you know what? I mean, we're supposed to be doing a deep dive into messages, morals, and meanings. And sadly, full disclosure, I'm finding myself just more and more of a fan of this show. Just as we're supposed to be fans. That's okay. We just need to maintain that. I need to just do something other than just sit here and fanboy over.
We don't need to do anything.
We just do what we want.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't care about anything. If I like the show, I'm going to talk about it. If I don't like it, I'm going to talk about what I don't like it. And it's convenient that the show's good. How about that?
Yeah. Like if I had to watch it 3 or 4 times a week and hated it, it'd be awful. But
it'd be tough.
It'd be tough. So the title. The Mortality Paradox.
Sure. Aha.
Was taken from a passage in a book called Immortality, The Quest to Live Forever and How It Drives Civilization by Stephen Cave. And in it, he describes the mortality paradox, much in the same way that Captain Ed Mercer does during the epilogue or the last scene. So more on that later. I want to kind of wrap up with that.
Yeah.
In a little bit more time. So, do you remember when Ed and Kelly, back in episode 2, Command Performance, were in their New York City apartment?
Yep.
And it appeared to be like 7 years before that.
Yeah.
And Kelly looked at Ed and said, "Could this be time travel?"
Well, here's the thing. It ends up being time travel for her.
Yeah. So and this, it's the same. And in this one, he was like, she does. It does end up. So she's either always involved in or thinking about.
Or suspicious of.
or suspicious of time travel.
Well, what I liked about the crew in general, even when they were talking to Finn in the unrealistic back on the ship setting, they all hypothesized, they all threw in questions, everyone was encouraged to ask a question, and even like when they were on the shore of the Zalayan, I love that you called the monster the Luck Bar
the Loch Truel monster.
That was really clever. Even everyone gave their 2 cents as to what it might be.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a threat or, like a trap, and then Bordas said it was a trap. So it just was, they're really such a good crew. It's such a good writing to exemplify excellent crew work. But anyway.
And that it's okay for everybody to be able to share their ideas.
It could be time travel, Mike, is my point.
It could be my background. If we look at aviation accidents from time to time, and back in the days of autocratic captain, the captain's word shall be followed without question, without delay. There were many instances of somebody on the flight deck having the answer and knowing the situation the way it was, having accurately assessed all the available information, but they were not listened to, or they didn't feel like they had the right to be able to speak up and share that information, and people died.
Yep.
So if I am leading a team and a decision needs to be made, I want to, time permitting, be able to, and there's always time, you make the time, right? You slow down, you make the time, listen to what people have to offer, because somebody there might have the answer. And if you shut them down, you shut them out, you let them think that their opinion is not valued, you're not going to get that answer.
Yep. Totally. This is a very awful example of this, but I've been watching a lot of Taskmaster from the BBC, and there's one season where they're paired up in these teams, and it's a team of 3, and basically they have to do these inane tasks and try to get points. And there's one guy who just goes, "We're doing this, we're doing that, we're going to be doing that,
I'm doing that,
and we're doing that," and everyone's like, "But," she's like, "No, I'm going to do that," and he doesn't even communicate his idea. He's not comfortable and they friggin' lose every time.
Yeah.
Because he's not listening to anybody.
And there are times that, as the leader, as a captain, you have the ability to say, like, I heard you, and this happens sometimes, but we're going to do it this other way, because it's my job to make the decision.
We heard Jamar do that.
Now, when you do that, the only thing I have to say is that when you do that, when you exercise that captain's authority and shut everybody else, you better be right. Like, you better be sure you're 100% right.
Correct.
Because if at the end of the day things go sideways and people on your crew see that other people suggested a different course of action, you didn't listen to them, that trust is broken and very tough to get back.
Yeah. Anything more we can chit-chat about before we move on?
We talked about the Randall monster. If anybody's following Brandon Fayette on Twitter, he's got a 3D model of it on there, kind of a turntable, and it's awesome. It actually kind of looks more between, more like a walking upright troll kind of thing with a long tail, and it still has that head that kind of opens like the J.J. Abrams monsters typically do. I
definitely want to do a one-shot D&D campaign where my people go up against that kind of monster. And honestly, the true horror, I'm sure last week's episode was horrific. This episode was horrific with the shot to the eye. It was, anyway, it was pretty bad.
It was tough. The only thing I don't want, before we move on, I did want to talk about the airplane scene a little bit, because
I'm sorry, this is your opportunity to shine.
Yeah. No, because I asked, I've been asked my thoughts on that. And honestly, I thought, there's almost nothing harder to watch on TV than like an airline scene or an airplane scene as an airline pilot.
Sure.
But this, honest to God, I thought it was exceptionally well done. The look in the cabin, the look of the overheads, the look of the flight attendant, the look and feel of the flight deck, the motion, all the internal shots, the external shots. That it was very, very well done.
Wow.
A couple of nitpicks.
Okay.
Just to point out was that in flight, before you push back from the ramp, the flight attendants arm the doors so that those slides will automatically deploy if you have to open the door in the case of an evacuation.
So it's always, that's prepped. That's
pre-prepped. That's prepped. That we do before we push back from the gate. We need to make sure everybody's in their seat with the seatbelts fastened, the bins closed, and the girt bars is what they're called, installed, that arm the slides. When you do that, there's a red strap that goes across the little window, the little viewing port on those entry and service doors, and that alerts people on the outside when you get to your destination, like the caterer or the person who's driving the jetway up, those kind of folks, that the door is armed, don't open it. So when they were in flight, Bordas tried to open the door, and then later, after they crashed and they exited the door, that red strap was not across the the small window. Just very little. Also, Ed and Gordon would not have been able to get into the pilot seats from the outboard side. Because there's the walls of the aircraft are right there, the windows. So that you have to kind of go in. You have to kind of go in one at a time from over the center console, or the pedestal as we call it, and then kind of go out.
They could have Rikered it too.
From there, they definitely. You have to Riker it. You just have to Riker it from the inboard side, not from the outboard side.
Got it.
The shots of the aircraft all look great. It looked like the exterior shots were of a 737, while the cockpit was looked much more like a 757.
I got it.
So a little bit there, and then also lastly, the only thing I would say to our listening and viewing public, as well as anybody who has watched the episode, is that I would never condone punching a flight attendant, no matter how many times she tells you can't do something.
It was a choice. It was a jarring choice.
It was a choice. It was a choice that I would not make, and that could end you up with some jail time.
Wow. I think that's a good moral or message to move on to. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think we can. Let's move on to the other side.
All right, I'll see you there.
All right, so what have you got to start off as far as sort of some of the more meaty issues or stuff that came in?
I mean, there is a lot to unpack. I think the majority of it. Well, first of all, we're not even sure that their reality is real. Now, who's to say? But I think I want to start with what Ed says at the end, and like you said, which I didn't realize, was an excerpt from Mortality Paradox, essentially, by Stephen Cave. I have felt like that since I was a kid. I've always felt like, man, mortality, one thing, dying being a fearful thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously for everybody, because it's an unknown, I think when people say that they're not scared of death, or it's going to be the greatest adventure humans ever had,
or
whatever, you're lying.
Just looking on to the next level. Well,
you're lying.
I think you get to the point where you do things to allow you to accept the inevitable. And
your body breaking down is one of those things, right?
Like as I always say, nobody gets out alive.
That's right. And there is some comfort in being glib about it, or what have you. And I would say acceptance and finding peace in not believing in a religion and thinking that there's going to be more after this life has given me some comfort, strangely. But I remember, because I was raised Catholic, and so you're taught to live the life well now so that you go to heaven, and I think that's just utter.
I think you just do the best you can and let the chips land where they may, man.
Well, and then there's the other ethical, where it's I think we may have talked about it in a previous episode, where you brought this up, where when there was another religious centric episode where I'm gonna what's the point if I either live a pious life and I'm wrong, or I'm right, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, so I think that was when I think that was in Mad Idolatry, when we were talking about Pascal's wager, where he says, like, look, I don't know if heaven is real or not, I don't know if religion is real or not, but I'm much better off wagering that it is real and following all the rules, just in case it is real. Then I will end up in heaven. If it's not, then I haven't really lost anything. But then we talked about all the things like when you get locked into that, some of that religious dogma, and you start to defend it and disallow opportunities for progress, then as a species it kind of slows everything down. Which Denal gets into later. Like, once you leave those things behind, gods, nations, identity, in other words, all that defensiveness, and you allow yourself to move forward, then you can really see progression. And I think that was the message there.
Yeah, I think I get more comfort out of trying to be happy now and not hurting other people and not trying to pretend like I know what's going to come after. But the one thing that I wanted to just kind of share with you is when at some point in childhood, we all become aware that this journey ends. Some for just because your parents tell you, and some for other horrible, you never know. All sorts of different reasons we come to understand mortality. And when I was a kid and I was trying to grasp it, one of the things that Ed was explaining is something that I tried to conceive or concept often in bed. I would be like scared and afraid to go to sleep, and I would think about the void of it all, and I tried, like, then the expanse of the universe would trip me out, where like just as easily as everything, not easily, but just as likely that this all exists, it could have just as likely not have existed, and that's not even void, that's just nothing, and the enormity of that concept freaked me out, yet I couldn't stop thinking about it because it was unimaginable. So not only do I want to live forever, just so I was having a philosophical debate recently with someone where I said I would trade everything right now if someone would just give me the play-by-play with what happens, how Big Bang happened, who started this world, how it ended. I just want to know all the secrets. But then someone asked, smartly, if you have nothing to base it off of, then what's the point of knowing everything?
I think it's just, they say after the universe stops expanding, it'll start contracting, and everything will go into like one
I think it's been doing it for years.
Boom, then it does it again. It just kind of does it over and over again. That's kind of my headcanon.
I think that's correct. Eddie Izzard, when I got to see her in Los Angeles last, she was talking about just that we're on, even in Cosmos, they talk about, we're just the midnight 12:59 or 11:59 on the last day, whatever. Where our concept of time is so much shorter, and if you were to macro vision the universe, if what she was saying is true, the Big Bang is almost just like a heartbeat, contracting, boom, boom. It could be. Who's to say?
That sounds like the most reasonable explanation to me.
That sounded facetious, though I don't think you were being facetious.
No, I was being 100%, 100% non-facetious.
It blew my mind.
That might explain the problem I've had with personal relationships throughout most of my life, is that I may sound facetious when I'm being like 100% sincere.
There was
so I will have to
delivery there.
No, well, the facetiousness was versus the alternatives, I think. Looking at those, I like the fact that they touched on experimenting on animals. If you and just animal cruelty in general. If you poke a worm to see what happens, you can still hurt the worm. Ed said our civilization hundreds of years ago used animals for experimentation. It didn't take 50,000 years to realize that it was wrong. And I like the way Danelle was just like, whatever. Next topic.
I wonder if she's so sure that they understand things that's insignificant. Like their base emotions are not. So maybe they're just so far removed from base emotions.
Correct. There did not seem to be. There did seem. She played it perfectly though. Because you could I like that gold star. And things like that. Gold star for Gordon. I like those kind of things. Yeah. But they also, they kind of seem like those sort of playful folks. The drive to advance begins to atrophy once you've seen it all and done it all. Time has no worth. All that's left is idle play. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the Telosians. From the Cage and or the Menagerie.
Oh yeah, I thought so too. When she shot the high school, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's already destroyed.
Yeah. When
she shot the door, yeah.
Yep, kind of like the that high school was kind of like a cage, if you will, that they couldn't get out of. So it was good. I think we already touched on the outgrown religion, nationalism, and that general sort of defensiveness and insecurity. And I love the fact that she looked at this. Probably should have been the first portion, but when she was like scoffing at evolution, that it creates a barely adequate excuse for a being, and then looks at Gordon and says, "No offense."
Here's the
Another
thing.
reason why I relate to Gordon so very well.
I only want Gordons in my life, just to be fair. Like,
Yeah.
he's a kind, dorky, enthusiastic guy who's gonna love the
I like
crap
it.
out of you.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
if that's what evolution has brought us, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
So, Denal, what we need to do is we need to take the simulator program and create a real life Laura Mullins just for Gordon. Bring her back. Get her back on the show.
No, it's not.
Do it.
No,
No,
because it's not
because
real.
she doesn't want to be forgotten.
But she also wants to love her boyfriend.
Greg?
She's not in love with him.
Delete Greg.
Oh, God. Listen, while I agree with you, you have to let them go. It's so, believe me, there's not a day I don't think about.
And he did the right thing, man. He let her go because it wasn't the right fit.
I think about that episode
And that's
all
what-
the time.
Yeah. And, but, lasting impressions isn't the only thing we're talking about when we're covering the Mortality Paradox. But yeah, and he did the right, did the right thing by letting her go.
Yes, 100%.
So I wanted to kind of, maybe just indulge myself and share what I found on the Mortality Paradox from Stephen Cave in his book, The Quest to Live Forever and How It Drives Civilization. And this is pared down quite a bit so that we are respectful for your time. Our awareness of ourselves, of the future, and of alternative possibilities enables us to adapt and make sophisticated plans. But it also gives us a perspective that is at the same time terrifying and baffling. On one hand, our powerful intellects conclude that we one day must die. Yet on the other hand, the one thing we cannot imagine, is that very state of non-existence. It is literally inconceivable. And I think we do know what that word means.
Inconceivable!
Death, therefore, presents itself as both inevitable and impossible.
Wow.
Both halves of this paradox arise from the same set of impressive cognitive facilities. First, we're aware of ourselves as distinct individuals, a trait limited only to a handful of large-brained species. Second, we have an intricate idea of the future, allowing us to premeditate and vary our plans. In other words, plan for the future.
Right.
And third, we can imagine different scenarios playing with possibilities and generalizing from what we've seen, enabling us to learn, reason, and extrapolate. The survival benefits of these faculties are obvious. From mammoth traps to supermarket supply chains, we can plan, coordinate, and cooperate to ensure our needs are met. But these powers come at a cost. If you have an idea of yourself and of the future and can extrapolate and generalize from what you see around you, then if you see your comrade killed by a lion, you realize that you too could be killed by a lion.
Sure.
And then you will go about and sharpen your spear in readiness. But it also brings anxiety. It summons the future possibility of death in the present. The next day, you might see a different comrade killed by a snake, another by disease, and yet another by fire. You see, there are countless ways in which you could be killed. Or, there's another way to say this, Jessica, there are a million ways to die in the Old West. And they could strike at any time. You think maybe this idea has been being bounced around for a while? And so we realize that no one is spared. We can stave it off for a while with sharp spears or strong gates, but at the same time, we see that all that is ultimately fruitless. One day, we not only can, but we will surely die. So, what's the best reason to stay alive? What do you think is the best reason to stay alive?
I don't know that I'm prepared to answer that.
I think Ed said it best, because he wants to see what happens.
Oh, that's fair. I like that.
I liked it too.
That's really nice.
And as confusing and as mind trippy this episode was, just that last line of this show just brought it all together in my mind.
It was such a charming end to a torturous episode. So I think that means it's a charming end to our podcast, too.
I think it does.
This episode.
That's true. Mission Log the Orville is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production by Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is podcasts.roddenberry.com.
Join us next time on Mission Log the Orville, where the krill come first on Gently Falling Rain. This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.